All right, y'all, we're going to get started. Good morning. My name is Nestor Gomez Jimenez, and I am the campaign manager for the Bring It Home Minnesota campaign. A little bit about myself. I joined Beacon about 2 months ago, and it's been a really exciting time. I've been organizing with many different organizations, with people, with the Beacon base, with y'all, with the organizers. So this is our kickoff event to the week of action, where we're going to be talking a little bit further, and Justin's going to be giving us a breakdown of what the week of action is going to look like. But we're here because of Bring It Home Minnesota. And for those of you who don't know, Bring It Home Minnesota is state legislation. It's a bill right now at the state capitol to fully fund the rent crisis that is happening right now. So it would allow folks to have housing stability, and it's a permanent solution to housing, which is super awesome. It has huge possibilities. It's really exciting because it could potentially end homelessness as we see it. And so with that, if you folks have any questions, feel free to put questions in the chat, and we'll answer them accordingly later on towards the end of this event. We have a great lineup for you folks today. We have a couple state legislators that we're going to have for a small panel about what it means to really pass Bring It Home and how folks can really get engaged. So with this, I'm going to pass it over to Justin so he can give us a breakdown of what Bring It Home is, or excuse me, the week of action.
Thank you, Nestor, and good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Can we get a round of applause for 100-some people being here on a Monday morning? How about a high five into your cameras? 115 people high-fiving each other at once is a beautiful way to start the week, especially as we are here today to talk about now being the time to invest in guaranteeing that everyone can afford their home. We all know that this pandemic has made it clear that we are in a housing crisis and that too many of us are living one crisis away from losing our homes. We're not even through this pandemic, but how many of you are ready for a long-term solution like Bring It Home that Nestor was talking about? That's right. We have the resources to pass Bring It Home Minnesota right now. We know that this legislative session has to be the year where the Minnesota State Legislature says, with this budget, we are going to make this the session about housing in Minnesota. Can I get an amen, folks? We're going to make this the session about housing? Great, because that's exactly what we're doing here with this week of action. Across the collaborative, from Jordan all the way up to Minneapolis and across the Twin Cities region, folks like you are meeting with our legislators to make that message heard. We want Bring It Home Minnesota passed. We are building the political infrastructure for this year and beyond to make sure that our legislature is putting housing as a top priority when it comes to this crisis that we know needs solutions that match the scope and the scale. So for all of you, this week of action kicking off today, we're going to be meeting with dozens of legislators to say just that. Not just that we have a bill, not just to say that we can fund this. We are out here with our faith and our values, preaching a good news that life can be radically different. We are here because we believe, as people of faith united in our collaborative, that we have the resources, that we have a vision of a Minnesota where everyone has a home. And so as we're meeting with our legislators, thank you all for committing to this vision and letting our legislators know that we need you to be our champion. We need you not just to support this bill, we need you to move this bill in your caucus. We need you to make phone calls. We need you to tweet about this. We need you to talk to other constituents, to other members of the Minnesota State Legislature to get this done. And that is what the Week of Action is embodying. An opportunity for us to meet with our legislators and let them know that not only do we have a bill, we have a vision where everyone has a home, and it's entirely possible, y'all. This is an amazing opportunity for us to be joyful in a moment where things kind of seem pretty dark. We have an opportunity to lift up with our congregations, to lift up with our communities, and to lift up across the state that we can make sure that every single person in Minnesota has a home. How many of you are with me? Can I get one more high five into the camera, because that's my favorite thing to do? Excellent. Thank you all very much. That's just a brief highlight of this week of action. I'm very excited. I've got a meeting, a bunch of leaders in the Southwest have meetings today. I know that most of you have meetings getting scheduled throughout the entire week, and I'm really excited to be doing this work with you all. So let's bring it home, Minnesota.
Yes, thank you so much. Wow, so much good energy. Thank you so much, Justin. Appreciate you. Yeah, folks, just like what Justin said, this is a really important week because we know that we can pass this, right? There's a need, there's a surplus. We know that there's a bucket of money that we can tap into to really fund housing stability. And with this, we're gonna kick off a small video that our Beacon team made folks about home and the variety and the array of legislators that support this bill and championing the bill. We're gonna set that up in a minute. And just to reiterate and what Justin said, you folks are going to be speaking with legislators. You folks have already set up these committee, or excuse me, these legislative meetings, and it's really important to really get your story across, right? Because maybe you may not be personally affected by housing instability, but you may know someone that is, and really, it's for you to really stand up and really for them and to tell your story to your legislators. And I think your story is one of the most powerful tools that you have as a constituent to really pass this and to move this forward. All right, sweet. Yeah, we're ready, Dan. Go ahead. I think we're gonna fix the audio in a bit. Yeah, but as waiting here, I want to give a shout out to Chum Booth for being here with us today. Super excited. Thank you so much, y'all. Yay. That's right. Yeah, so thank you so much. We will get you folks as much informational materials as possible. We're in communication with Patricia to do exactly that. All right, y'all, can you folks hear me? Yes, okay, awesome. So we're gonna have the video after our next next topic. So we're gonna be interviewing or have a discussion, a small panel discussion with state legislators, Senator Lindsey Port from Senate District 56, and Representative Michael Howard from House District 50A. And we are gonna do that right now.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, State Representative and Senator. So we are going to have, so we have a panel today and we just have two questions, right? And the first question is, Why don't you folks introduce yourselves? Yeah, please, Senator Port.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Senator Lindsay Port. I represent District 56, which is Burnsville, Savage, in the northwest part of Lakeville. I'm so pleased to be with you here today. To be honest, 2 years ago, I didn't know a lot about the housing crisis in Minnesota. But I got put on the housing committee in my first session, my first term here, and fell in love with this issue and the ways that it not only impacts my community, but impacts the whole state. And part of the reason that I've been able to fall in love with this issue is because of groups like yours that really bring the stories from Minnesota to us at the legislature and really help us understand the scope of the problem and the realities of what it looks like for our communities. So thank you so much for taking your time to be here to advocate for this important issue.
Thank you so much, Senator Port. Representative Howard.
Thank you, Nestor, and thank you all for the invitation and to be here this morning. I represent Richfield and East Bloomington in the Minnesota House, and am in my second term, and housing is the issue that I've focused, I would say, the most on in the legislature. In so many ways, it is the issue that intersects with everything we're doing at the legislature. Folks can't, without stable housing, Minnesotans don't have access to a quality education. They don't have access to safety. In so many ways, all roads lead back to home, and this effort in particular really offers, as I think Nestor mentioned, it's a solution that matches the scope of the problem, which is so exciting to pushing for those kinds of solutions at the legislature in this moment. And so just grateful to be here with you all this morning.
Thank you so much, Representative. And our first question is, we're going to start off with Senator Lindsay Port, is why bring it home Minnesota? And why is it important for our state to pass this legislation?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Nestor. Thank you. We've all seen the pandemic has shown really bright lights on cracks that we already knew existed. And housing has to be just one of the most vivid, places that we are not succeeding as a society in making sure that everyone has a stable home. And the pandemic has just highlighted that. And now with the end of the federal rental subsidy, the emergency rental subsidy that we had during the pandemic, with the end of that program, we need a long-term sustainable solution. Just exactly as Mike was saying, without stable housing, quality education, employment, mental and physical health, all of those things become secondary. They are not they cannot be a focus of our families, and we really need our families to be able to make the choices that make them safe and healthy, and that starts with a stable home. We have a surplus right now. We have money to spend on this, and frankly, it's an issue that we have sort of given lip service a little bit to here and there, but we've never made the big sustainable investments that can actually make a difference. This is a moment for us to make investments in all of Minnesota, in all of Minnesota's families that really make a huge difference. And we could end homelessness. We could really make a massive change in the stability of housing for Minnesotans with this bill. And frankly, we can't wait any longer. Minnesotans need this, and we need to bring forth the political will to get it done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that honesty, Senator Port. Yeah, and it's definitely very needed, that permanent solution, as people are saying in the chat. Representative Howard, why is Bring It Home Minnesota so important for our state?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I really appreciate about this legislation is it's elegant in its simplicity, in that it is a solution that helps people afford their home. And right now in Minnesota, over 500,000 Minnesotans are cost burdened, meaning they're paying more than 30% of their income in housing. And more than 200,000 Minnesotans are severely cost burdened, meaning they're paying more than 50% of their monthly income in housing. And when you're paying more than 50% of your income in housing, that means if you're basically one, flat tire or medical issue away from, being in real crisis. And what we've seen year over year is is in particular the cost of rent continue to escalate because for a host of reasons, but we're simply not building enough housing that's affordable for Minnesotans. And so this is a solution that utilizes resources and deploys them in a way to help people afford their home. And the reality is we can't afford to do this. It's a question of values. Right now, Minnesota spends 0.3% of its state general fund budget on housing. 0.3%. If we just bump that up to a percentage point, if we get to 1% or 1.5%, we can make considerable investments to help Minnesotans afford their housing all over the state. And that's why this is so important.
Thank you so much, Representative Howard. And yes, to reiterate that, I think you are spot on. It's a matter of values, right? Because the state has the funds, and we all can agree that Beacon really embodies those values, and that's why we're getting excited and getting active this week because it's really important. Yeah, so thank you so much. The next thing is really is really how, because you folks have served. And you're probably in your first or second terms, right? So really, you have a really fresh perspective on how the legislative process works, or excuse me, like being an insider, right? And us right here, we're just coming in, we're learning how to engage with legislators, talk to them, right? Ask them those really tough questions without much fear. And I'll start with you, Representative Howard. What kind of tips can you give this community in doing this legislative outreach, this like quote unquote lobby, right? For you folks.
Yeah, well, first what I would say is thank you. And your voices, your stories are powerful. And legislators like myself and Lindsay and others, we want to hear from you. And so that's the main thing I would convey is that when you have space and time with your legislators, they by and large really value that interaction, that time, that personal connection, and your stories. And so, and they make a difference. I think this group this bill started as just an idea that Beacon brought to the legislature, and now in the House there's more than 35 co-authors. And a big reason that I know that folks signed on for co-authors is because of the stories that they've heard from their constituents, from you asking your legislators to step up and to be part of this movement. And so my biggest piece of advice is just have fun, be yourself, share your stories, and it makes a difference.
Thank you so much, Representative Howard. Senator Lindsay, or excuse me, Senator Port, what tips can you give us in really doing this outreach, right? This legislative outreach?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, in 2014, I was a volunteer exactly like you guys for an issue that I cared about. And I came to the Capitol for the very first time to lobby my legislators, and I was terrified. So the first thing I'll tell you is don't be scared. We're just regular people. And it was, for me, sort of eye-opening in a way that, I sat down with my House rep, and I learned he was like a local science teacher, and he had kids in our school district, was going through a lot of the same things my family and I were. And it really sort of demystified the idea of the legislature being this place of people different than folks in our community. And that really shouldn't be the reality. Now, I will say it can be the reality because we do live in a little bit of a bubble up there, especially now with the Capitol, hasn't been open. We haven't been able to connect with our constituents as easily as we have in the past, which makes your job today all that more important because just like Mike said, we really do value hearing from folks in our community. I would say just share your stories, share why what brought you here today. What made you get up and be on a Zoom at 8:30 in the morning on a Monday and spend your day talking to your legislators? That's important to us. And it helps to bring that passion that brought you here to your legislators. It really is about telling the story of Minnesotans, whether it's you yourself, whether it's folks you've helped through your congregations, through your work at Beacon, or people whose stories you are lifting up. That really is what changes people's minds and gets them to be not just supportive of this legislation, but champions for this legislation. And so my final tip is if your legislator is on board and they are ready to be supportive, ask them to go that extra mile and join us as champions. Really, this is what we need. We need legislators and community members who are talking about this on social media, who are making this a priority, who are lifting it up and continuing to push this conversation forward. And if you bring that excitement, your legislators won't be able to help but to meet you there as well.
Thank you so much, Senator Port. I think that's spot on. And I have a really quick question just to follow up as we're wrapping things up with you folks. There's really good question about how do we share our stories with our elected officials who refuse to meet with us and hear our stories, because we're gonna encounter that. Representative Howard, Senator Lindsay Port. Yeah, Representative Howard.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is, I think by and large, legislators will meet with their constituents, either virtually or otherwise, but there's ways to reach us via email. A personal email can be impactful. I think that we as legislators, we're reading our emails and especially ones that have a sort of personal connection, that don't sort of feel like they're just a copy and paste type of an email, can really make a difference. I've just seen it time and again when we're in a caucus meeting with amongst our colleagues, and a legislator will bring up an issue specifically out of a phone call or an email from their constituent. And so the more sort of personal you can make it, the better, and helps kind of break through.
Thank you so much, Representative Howard. Senator Port.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. If you aren't able to get a meeting directly, but you're leaving a voicemail or sending an email, call out the fact that you are a constituent. That's important to members to know that it's folks from their communities. So that's one tip I would have. And really then if after, sort of repeated contact, you're still not getting, a response, it doesn't hurt to tweet something or share something on social media and tag your senator or your representative and ask them where they stand on it. This is such a vital issue. It's so important to our communities that putting that public pressure is also can be a way to help, move people or make them take a stand, make them give you an answer one way or another. It's effective.
That's right. Thank you so much, Senator Port. And with that, we're gonna wrap things up with the panel here. Thank you so much to both of you for taking the time to really meet with us, to our base. And can we give the senator and the representative a round of applause, please? That's right. Thank you so much, y'all. Have a great day, and we'll be seeing you folks.
Have a great time today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Wow, that was really exciting. So informative. Thank you so much to both legislators. And that that is really the content and the level of involvement that we really want to push with this campaign as we're really gearing up for this week of action. It's to reiterate a little bit of the points that they made, right? It's about this urgency that we see right now because there's a housing stability happening right now. There's a crisis. And so we need to act accordingly to that urgency. And also your commitment. You're here, you woke up really early, you attended a meeting, right? You're learning about the process, the legislative process, how to get involved. That's what it takes to pass legislation, that personal commitment, right? That personal story that you have to share. So thank you so much, y'all. And we're gonna move to our next agenda point for today. And I'm gonna pass it on to VP Ben Anderson.
Great. Good to see you all this morning on Rent is Due. So my name is Ben Helvig Anderson, work at Beacon here and policy. Excited that we're moving forward. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit. So we're really excited, right? This week of action, many of us have meetings set up with our legislators, and that's the whole goal. Is that, and I believe we have over 60 meetings set up, or even more. I don't even know the final number, but you have all done great job working to land meetings with your legislators. And then many of you have done a lot of trainings to get ready for those. If you are not, if this is all new to you and you're like, whoa, there's all this stuff happening this week and I'm not a part of it, but you want to be, please contact Emily Goldwaite Fries, who is the organizer really leading the effort, and she will connect you because likely we've actually already have a meeting set up and a group is going to meet with your legislator, and we could put you into that group and be a part of it. So her email is in the chat right now. So if you want to participate in this week of action where we're going and meeting with our legislators throughout this week sometime, please email Emily. All right. So I'm going to walk you through right now just a little bit. I know some people have done some advanced training of how to lead these meetings, but I'm going to give you, everyone here, a quick overview of what we're trying to deliver, the message we're trying to deliver to the legislature this week. All right. And I'm going to share my screen and walk you through a little PowerPoint here of our main asks and then the things you might hear. Give me a second. All right. So I'm going to walk you through our main asks and what we're all trying to say this week to our legislators and what we want them to hear. So the biggest one is what Senator Port and Representative Howard really delivered to us, right? We want to champion, we want every legislator to champion Bring It Home Minnesota. But what that really means is we need to put money in the housing budget to make it happen. And so they need to support Bring It Home Minnesota, but then support the money in the housing budget to make it happen. And we're asking for $1 billion in the housing budget this year to really make Bring It Home happen as a part of a larger effort of a lot of housing organizations who are working with us to say, let's fully fund housing this year. So we really want them to do that. What that means, though, and I think the follow-up ask is really clear to this, is that to champion it, like I believe Senator Port said, they need to be speaking with their leadership and with their colleagues to make this happen. So it just like it, not any one of us can make some of this happen. Even one legislator can't make it happen. They have a lot of colleagues, and they have the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader, and they really decide budget priorities and where all of the surplus is going. And so who they listen to is their legislators, the members in the chamber that they're representing. And so Speaker Melissa Hortman will give a bunch to housing if she is hearing from all of her legislators. That's where the money needs to go, and that's where all the constituents are asking for it. So we need to tell them, hey, we really want you to champion Bring It Home and speak to your leadership like Speaker Hortman. Or if you're speaking to a senator, speak to your majority leader or minority leader, depending on which party they are from. So that's our big ask. Champion Bring It Home. Be about this and be active talking about it and really help us lobby who you need to lobby to make this happen. The second is to amplify Bring It Home Minnesota. That They can talk internally in places we can't talk, but they can also talk externally out into the world. And they could be mentioning it in conversations they're having with the media. They could be tweeting or Facebook posting or doing whatever social media they do to really lift up. And almost all of them are very active on Twitter, and it's one of the big places that a conversation happens around policy at the state capitol. And so we really need them to tweet about this, to name about Bring It Home, to post a picture of your meeting and say, I'm really about this and this needs to happen this year. So ask them to do that. Be very clear. You could do this, and this would be really helpful for our campaign. The third is connected to Bring It Home, but our second issue Beacon is always pushing, right, is to support bonding dollars for housing. And so these, a little more complicated, but these are the funds to help build housing that helps Beacon and many other developers build housing that's the most affordable for those who most need it. And so this is part of a bigger ask that we are a part of. So Beacon has joined a huge coalition of folks asking for $2 billion for housing. $1 billion is in the housing budget to really help things like Bring It Home. Another $1 billion is in preserving and building housing. And then $500 million of that preserving and building housing is for bonding to build housing like us. So there's a one-pager of all this that we will get that breaks up all those numbers. But the really important thing to just remember is lots of money for bonding dollars for homes. And sometimes the exact numbers don't matter as much as you being there and really asking for this to move up. So those are our main asks for this week. And hopefully you've heard these and leaders have been trained to really support these in the meetings you're going to. So there will be people, and these are all written down in the packets and the agendas you're all heading into the meetings. So this is just for you to remember and to be clear on. So lastly, I just want to touch then on what you may hear. So I'm gonna simplify this into 3 types of people. So this is a simplification, and none of this is real, and it's a little silly. But I'm to simplify. When you're going and lobbying, here's 3 types of people you may encounter. The first one I'm going to say is the great, but not me. So we have a lot of legislators who are really supportive of Bring It Home Minnesota, who are all about it. And then they're going to say, but I can't make the decision. It's not me. You got to talk to the housing people. You got to talk to others. I don't control anything. I don't have the power. So they're going to say that. That's where our big ask is of, well, you can go talk to those people. We know we have the housing champions in the House of Representatives are all for this. So talk to the speaker. In the Senate, we need a lot more dialogue to happen, and we need the housing chair to move on this and to support this more, so they could talk to him. There's lots of people they could talk to, and that's part of our ask is go talk to your leadership, go talk to your colleagues. It's great. Thanks for supporting, but you need to do more than just say, well, it's not me. You all have to go talk to these other people. They can do it as well. The second type of person that you'll encounter is the person who's going to try to drown you in details, usually about the budget or the process in the legislature, to say, well, this is great, but, and then they'll drown you in a lot of details about how the legislature works and then how this is impossible, or they'll drown you in details about the budget and the money and how much it costs or why they can't spend this amount of money at this point. There's lots of details about the budget surplus and people who think it can be spent one way or another, and a lot of competing interests for that. Sometimes they'll go really into some details about how this budget surplus it's only one-time money versus ongoing funds. So those are distinctions you don't really have to know about, and legislators do, just to know that in the surplus, there's both types of money. And like any program or thing, they could fund it this year and put it in the budget next year. So the legislature creates 2-year budgets. We're in the second year of a budget, but they have all this extra money. So they're going to put it in this year's budget, but everything that goes in this year's budget has to be put into next year's budget. They can do that. It's not that complicated. It's not a problem. But sometimes they like to drown you in the details about how that is complicated and a problem. But overall, you don't need to argue about the details. You need to pivot back and say why this is so important and why they need to push through those details to make it happen. Because it can happen. And this is an opportunity for you just to talk about why this is so important. The third type of person you might run into is someone who's all about saying, yes, this is great, or they just talk, but they never actually tell you what they think. And some legislators are really good at this because they meet with lots of people lobbying them, and they love to say, okay, good job, you keep working on this, great work, and they never tell you what they think or what they're going to do. But they try to make you feel really good, so you walk away feeling great, but they've not committed to anything or ever said where they actually stand. So it's really important in these meetings to really ask direct questions, and if they don't answer them, to repeat them. And it's okay to be pushy on that and say, well, are you actually for this? Could you champion it? Did you say yes or no to talking to Speaker Hortman or the Senate Majority Leader about this? We really need you to do that. So to really push for answers in these meetings, even if they're short, to really try to land some distinct answers from people. So those are the really key points. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we'll just take a couple quick questions. I know there's been lots of questions in the chat. If anyone has any direct ones about lobbying this week, we'll take a couple quick ones. And then move on with this meeting, because we do have an action again today, like our normal rent is due calls.
I've got a quick question about just where the bill stands, so we look somewhat informed. I mean, are they in one committee? Are they in several? Are they sister bills in both sides of the House?
Great. Good question. So yes, so we introduced bills last year, HF 40. So Representative Howard's our main author there and is great. In the Senate, so there's a companion bill, which is an identical bill that's introduced in the House, which is Senate file, I believe 333, but it should be on your one pager if I have that number wrong.
444. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry. You're right.
Yep. And that is authored by Senator Dietzick in the Senate. So in the House, both bills have to go through the Housing Committee. And we're having a hearing in the House Housing Committee this Tuesday, which we'll talk more about on this call soon. So yeah, the bills are there. People will also ask how much they cost. And it's over $1 billion. And you don't have to get into all the details of 1.1 billion, 1.3 billion. We're getting a new cost estimate this year. So, but we know it's over $1 billion. It's a lot of money, but that's why we need, but the good way to answer that is to say we have a big surplus this year, and this is a really important need that we need you to invest in. Other questions were asked, are there strategic districts we have context? So really reaching every legislator this year is really important because they do have the money to do it and they can make this happen. And so even legislators who we have talked to over and over again and who we know are big champions, they need to push their party to actually pass it this year and to really put the money into this. And so we need to be talking to every legislator, even our biggest champions, to really push them to invest the funds this year. So I know folks have a lot more questions. Please reach out to your organizers if you have more questions about lobby visits or anything. Make sure the last step always in a lobby visit is to record what you heard so that you can report it back out to us. So hopefully in all your visits, you have a recorder, and there will be a form that you should have where you get to type all that out and report it back to us. So please make sure after your meeting with whoever you've met with, please let us know what they said because that will be really important for us to know who we need to reach out to more, where we need to be reaching out, how we're doing this year, where we're going. It's very critical. So please report back, because all of your meetings are really important. And a lot of our first conversations with these legislators this legislative session about the bill. So I'll hand it back off to Nestor to do our action and close us out.
Thank you so much, Ben. That was really, really informative. And I saw so many people taking notes, which is really good. That means that that information was important for folks. And to reiterate that, what Ben said, the last part is really make sure you folks are writing down your report back, right? And because that's going to be super key as we move forward with the campaign throughout the legislative session, right? Whatever meeting situation you folks end up in, just write up a summary. That allows us to really understand the playing field and how we strategize moving forward, right? How we pass, bring it home. So that's a great point, Ben. Thank you. And with this, I'm gonna send you folks in the chat our action. And this month's action is going to be geared towards the governor. So let me get that link really quick. All right, so the link is in the chat now. And yeah, take the time to really fill it out, really send out that alert to the governor's office, and really we have to request, in the nicest way possible, right? Because this is really, really needed, that we need Bring It Home to be included in the agenda of HIT. And with that, we're going to move on to our closing. Some announcements that we have are that tomorrow we're going to have a committee hearing on Bring It Home. It's our first committee hearing of the legislative session. And I'm going to set that. I'm going to put this link in the chat as well. There it is. Yep. Dan, thank you so much. So with that, we want you folks to register through Beacon, and there's in there, it's a watch party. So you're going to have a lot of familiar folks that you may know in meeting. So you folks can really talk about, oh man, I can't, what does this mean, et cetera, right? Ask questions. Emily's going to be leading that. Super awesome. Great idea. Yeah, let me see, Julie, great question. Can you show us the action form so we understand what is being asked? Ben, do you have that capacity?
Yep, why don't you do the next announcement and then I'll bring it up.
Awesome. Yeah, so again, we want you folks to reiterate, like for the third time, is the report backs. We're going to give you folks, or the organizer, we're going to give you a link to a job form, right, where you really write down a summary of how your meeting went with your legislator, because it's really important, once again, as we're moving forward with our strategy, so we understand if they support Bring It Home, if they want to get involved. Yes, and Lee, so with the action, so there are three things that I'm talking about right now. One of them is the action, right? That we are going to be sending out an email to Governor Walz to ask him to support Bring It Home and put it on his agenda for housing. The second one is really the hearing for tomorrow. I'm just explaining the links that I'm putting in the chat. So tomorrow we have a committee hearing, and then the third one is really for the report back, which your organizers, your direct organizers, are going to be talking to you more about. Ben?
Great. So I'll just share my screen here and folks can know what we're asking. So every month we do this rent is due call, and we always have an action, right, for everyone to take today that you can do right now. Now, I know many of you are already taking actions this week through going and lobbying your legislators, but we want you to take this one action right now to move forward. And so if you go to the action link, this is our usual action form. For those who are new to Rent is Due calls, every month we gather, we give a campaign update, and we take an action together. And so here is the action we're going to do. Fill in your name and your email when you click the link. Go to next. And this is a pretty simple one this week because all of you are going and lobbying your legislators and directly talking to them, which is the most important piece. But we want the governor to support Bring It Home as well and to hear all of your voices this week as well. And so the big important part of this is to email the governor. And how you send a message to the governor is actually through his web form. And the best way to do this, so you don't lose this form, if you click right here, often your screen will go to the next thing. So right click and open this in a new tab. And then you can go over there and, oh, my Zoom controls are stopping me from doing that. There we go. And you can go to the governor's and fill all of this out here. And then on our page, we have a sample message for you to copy and paste or to edit and to put into the governor's web form and send him a note saying why this is so important. And then please check the box and let us know and hit submit to this so that we know you sent this action. That's always really important. And so please take this action right now, right after this call, to make this happen.
Did you actually send us this link earlier? I
So
haven't opened it up.
So we did not send you the link earlier, unlike normal ones, but we will send it to you in an email after this. It has also been posted in the chat several times. And Dan, if you could throw it in the chat right now again, that'd be great.
Yep, and to reiterate, we're going to be sending out another follow-up email with all the links, with a small snippet of explanation of what each link does and is about. After that, and Dan did put that action link in the chat. You folks can copy that right now, copy and paste that into your browser. And I'll let you folks give you folks some seconds here. Other final announcement is that we did create a one-pager explaining the campaign. It's the website. If you haven't visited our website, it's bringitminnesota.org. And you can find a lot of information there about exactly what the bill does. Yep, there we go. And as you go through your week action and you meet with legislators, feel free to go on there, learn as much as you can. The organizers will have this one pager. We'll send it out to them so they're prepared, and you folks are also equally prepared. Yeah, so that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, any further questions? Cool. Well, thank you so much. Oh, Ben, did you have?
Oh, no, I was going to say thank you, everyone. And I was going to ask Nestor if I could try to share the video one more time to close this out. And if this doesn't work, folks can just leave. But I could give it a shot here. But any last words, Nestor?
No, I just thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And any questions, feel free to send them over through organizers, and they can ask me. Have a great day.
Great, thanks everyone. I'll try to share. This is a quick link of legislators who support it, who showed up at our press conference a couple months ago, and we created this cool video. So hopefully this works and you can hear it. Else we'll give up and move on with our day.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carrie Dietzick.
I'm Representative Emma Greenman.
Hi, I'm State Representative Khalid Vangher.
I'm Representative Liz Ryer.
My name is Mike Howard, and I'm the state representative who is the chief author of the Bring It Home bill. Our bold plan to make sure that every single Minnesotan can afford their home.
This is what we need to do. Right now with our surplus, this is the time for us to support Minnesotans to make sure that they are housing secure.
Housing insecurity not only hurts families, it hurts our local economies and it hurts the state. Studies have shown that kids do better when they are in stable housing. They do better in school now and in the future.
You know, I know how important this is for families, for kids, for the next generation. It creates stability and it creates all of the important things that help Minnesota families thrive.
And we know that when you provide money to people to pay their rent, you prevent the spiral of people losing their cars, losing their health care, ending up in homelessness.
Our campaign includes legislators from across the state and organizations committed to this goal, and we want you to join us. No single policy plan that will address the state capitol will do more to end homelessness in Minnesota.
This bill helps stabilize families and our economies.
I ask you all to contact your representatives and senators. Speak out on behalf of this important legislation. The time is now for Bring It Home Minnesota.
Let's bring it home, Minnesota.
And let's get this done. Let's bring it home, Minnesota.
And together we can bring it home Minnesota this session.
We need to pass this bill and bring it home Minnesota. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.